After 27 years in prison, Mandela emerges without hate and leads South Africa toward peace. His story is one of forgiveness, strength, and transformation. The world watched, holding its breath, on that fateful day, February 11th, 1990. A man, once condemned as a terrorist and hidden from the world for nearly 3 decades, walked out of Victor Verster prison, not with a clenched fist of vengeance, but with an open hand of reconciliation. This was Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela, and his journey from a political prisoner to the president of a nation teetering on the brink of civil war is a testament to the indomitable power of the human spirit. His emergence was not merely a release, it was a resurrection of hope for millions. For 27 long years, the apartheid regime had tried to break him, to erase his name from history, to silence his call for a free and democratic South Africa. They imprisoned his body, but they could never cage his mind or his ideals. While confined to a tiny cell on Robben Island, and later in Pollsmoor and Victor Verster prisons, Mandela transformed himself. He studied, he wrote, he reflected, and most importantly, he planned for a future that many thought impossible. He learned the language of his oppressors, Afrikaans, not as a sign of submission, but as a tool for understanding and, eventually, for negotiation. This singular act spoke volumes about his strategic brilliance and his profound commitment to a shared future rather than a divided past. When he finally emerged into the blinding sunlight of freedom, he was a global icon, a symbol of resistance against injustice everywhere. Yet, Mandela shunned the pedestal of martyrdom. He understood that the real work was just beginning. South Africa was a powder keg of racial tension, economic disparity, and deep-seated fear. Decades of brutal oppression had left scars on both the oppressed and the oppressor. The black majority, having suffered systemic violence and humiliation, rightfully yearned for justice and retribution. The white minority, fearing the loss of power and privilege, braced for a violent backlash. In this volatile climate, a lesser leader might have chosen the path of retribution, a path that would have undoubtedly plunged the nation into a bloody civil war. But Mandela was not a lesser leader. He chose the infinitely more difficult, yet profoundly more courageous, path of forgiveness. He understood that true freedom could not be built on a foundation of revenge. He famously declared, "As I walked out the door toward the gate that would lead to my freedom, I knew if I didn't leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I'd still be in prison." This was not just a poetic sentiment. It was the guiding principle of his leadership and the cornerstone of his vision for a new rainbow nation. His strength was not the brute force of a conqueror, but the quiet, unyielding strength of a peacemaker. It was the strength to sit down with his former jailers, to negotiate with the very men who had stripped him of his youth and his freedom. His meetings with President F.W. de Klerk were a masterclass in diplomacy and moral fortitude. Mandela navigated these treacherous political waters with a combination of unwavering principle and pragmatic flexibility. He demanded one person, one vote, the non-negotiable foundation of a true democracy, while simultaneously offering assurances to the white minority that their place in the new South Africa would be secure. He calmed the fears of his own supporters in the African National Congress Inc., who were skeptical of negotiating with the enemy, and he reached out to extremist groups on both sides of the political spectrum, urging them to lay down their arms and join the democratic process. This was a Herculean task, fraught with peril at every turn. Assassinations, massacres, and political brinkmanship threatened to derail the peace process countless times. Yet, through it all, Mandela remained a beacon of calm and resolve, his moral authority acting as the glue that held the fragile nation together. His leadership was a delicate dance between confrontation and conciliation, a testament to his profound understanding of human nature and political reality. The culmination of this struggle came in 1994, with South Africa's first-ever multiracial democratic elections. The images from that day are etched into the collective memory of the world. Long, snaking lines of people, black and white, young and old, waiting patiently for hours to cast their vote for the first time. It was a day of jubilation, a cathartic release of a nation's hopes and dreams. Mandela, the former prisoner number 466/64, was overwhelmingly elected as the first black president of South Africa. His inauguration was a powerful symbol of the nation's profound transformation. But for Mandela, the presidency was not a prize to be won. It was a responsibility to be shouldered. He established the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, TRC, a groundbreaking and controversial initiative designed to heal the wounds of the past. Instead of seeking punitive justice through Nuremberg-style trials, the TRC offered amnesty to perpetrators of human rights abuses in exchange for the full disclosure of their crimes. It provided a platform for victims to share their stories, to have their pain acknowledged, and to find a measure of closure. It was a painful, messy, and imperfect process, but it was a crucial step in preventing the cycle of violence from continuing. It forced the nation to confront its dark history, not to dwell on it, but to learn from it and move beyond it. Beyond the grand political gestures, Mandela's transformation was most evident in his personal conduct. He embraced symbols of white South Africa, most famously when he donned the Springbok rugby jersey, a potent symbol of white supremacy during apartheid, the 1995 Rugby World Cup final. This single, powerful act of reconciliation united the nation in a shared moment of sporting triumph and demonstrated his commitment to building a single, unified national identity. He invited his former white jailer to his presidential inauguration as a VIP guest. He had tea with the widow of Hendrik Verwoerd, the architect of apartheid. These were not mere photos opportunities. They were deeply personal acts of grace that stemmed from a profound and hard-won inner peace. He showed the world that forgiveness is not a sign of weakness, but the ultimate expression of strength. It is the act of liberating oneself from the prison of the past. Nelson Mandela's life story is a powerful reminder that even in the face of unimaginable cruelty and injustice, a single individual armed with courage, wisdom, and an unwavering belief in the goodness of humanity can change the course of history. He walked a long road to freedom, but the journey he led his nation on from the darkness of division to the hope of a shared future is a lesson for all time. His story is one of forgiveness, strength, and transformation.